Vice-Chancellor, honoured guests and students, thank you from the bottom of my heart for this award. Believe me, no one is more surprised than I am to receive it. It is truly an honour. And if you think it's warm down there, you should be up here. I am very pleased my wife, mother-in-law and sister are here to share this moment with me. My sister has travelled from Ireland, and she reminded me the other day when she said, when we were younger, my father's words of encouragement were, "You'll never make it." He was the first motivational speaker I met. I've been asked to say a few words on what is for all of you a very proud and joyous occasion. You've worked really hard and in getting your just rewards. Well done, all of you. It's a tremendous achievement. I hope it's the beginning of something really special for you and exciting. I remember vividly receiving my degree and how lost I was about what to do with it. It serves me right for studying politics. I remember then somebody receiving an honorary degree and I looked up at them and thought, who the hell are you? Just as you're doing now. Many of you have made up your minds what it is you want to do with your degree, which is fantastic. Universities are much better now about preparing students for the outside world, and Anglia Ruskin, as you know, are one of the best. For myself, I didn't have a plan. I was an angry young man in the mid-80s. I had lots of energy and no place to direct it. I didn't like being told what to do, still don't. And what I invariably did was the opposite. I was saddened by injustice and inequality and spent most of the 1980s protesting against it. However, I had no money, so eventually I had to get a job, which I did through a government-funded scheme for the unemployed. It was with the voluntary sector, and it was with the people that Sir Tom has been talking about, kind people, caring people, which helped change my life. From there, as you just heard, I became involved with Essex County Council, involved in transport for disabled people, and made changes to the transport system in Essex in particular. However, I'm a big believer that if you're green, you should hide in the grass. And I realised that the changes in what was going on in Essex County Council at the time weren't for me, and there was a draw on me towards health. Some of my children have had to have considerable medical and clinical interventions. And indeed, as I looked back at that time, I recalled the death of my mother when I was 10 years old and the care that she received from the NHS. My father, in time-honoured fashion, as you're getting to know him so well so soon, blamed the clinical and medical services. However, my sisters and I had a fantastic caring experience with them. So in 2007, when I was recruited into the NHS to do the job similar to what I'm doing now, I looked around me and I found that there was a huge amount of disconnect between frontline staff, those providing care, and management. There was low morale. Staff did not feel they could make decisions. Staff like you, people like you who have been trained and qualified to make decisions, had that taken away from them. They had no vision, but stacks of values. More values than you could shake a stick at. I was unsure and floundering about what to do, and during this period my wife was a huge support for me as I'd come home at night and weep about some of the things that I was trying to do and couldn't do. So I came up with the idea that we should try and give back to the NHS, back to those staff working in the NHS, responsibility and accountability for what they do. I wasn't an expert, they were. I wanted them to be able to make the decisions. So we created, as you've just heard, a social enterprise where 1,000 staff and myself left the NHS and created a staff-owned enterprise. What brave colleagues. What brave people they were. In fact, I only learnt yesterday that this is being streamed live and many of them are looking in, and I've just got one thing to say to them: get back to work. However, without that trust, we could not do what we have done. So if it was possible to give an honorary doctorate to 1,000 people at once, there is no doubt in my mind that they are the deserving ones, not I. I was once asked at a reward ceremony to give some advice to budding entrepreneurs. And my advice was, be brave. But I also caveated with the bit about, if you have to be brave or you need to be brave, get people around you that allow you to be brave. It really helps. So graduates of Anglia Ruskin University, the thing I want to say to you today is be brave. I wish I had said what Sir Tom had said, but I thought what he was going to say was the famous malapropism by Yogi Berra, the great American baseball player who died recently, who said, when you come to a fork in the road, take it. So find a place where you can express yourself best, and don't be afraid to do so. Make decisions. That's what changed my life, and I think what Tom explained was he made some decisions. Don't be afraid of making decisions. There's nothing more rewarding than making a decision and going through with it. People who rely on others to make a decision feel the most disempowered and get least job and work satisfaction. Be brave. Find out what it is you're passionate about and why, and make a decision. You won't regret it, however, you will do if you don't. It's how I try and live my life. I told a story at our board, one of our board meetings once, which frightened the hell out of our non-executive directors. And when I was in my second year university, my dad owned a greyhound. And it was a very good greyhound. It ran a lot of races and won a lot of races. And he wasn't very well at the time, and he asked me to go and pick up the prize money that was absolutely sure this dog was going to win at Wembley Greyhound track. So duly I went down with a friend of mine to the greyhound races. And sure enough, the dog was favourite. Greyhound racing is not as popular anymore, you can't get the jockeys. All those who don't know anything about greyhound racing looking, what's he talking about? They must be really small. But anyway, I put in those days you could get a grant for university, and the grant mostly covered your housing fees and your food and drink. And so it was a big sum of money in the 1980s. So I put the whole grant on this greyhound. I was sure it was going to win. It didn't win. I was pretty cross at the time. Pretty cross with my dad. But I don't regret it. What I would have regretted if I put £5 on that and it had won. So finally, let me thank again the Vice-Chancellor and those who've made the decision to grant me this honorary degree, this honorary doctorate. I think it may be a bit confusing in my line of work to use the prefix, but the certificate will sit proudly in my office as a symbol of the achievement for all the brave staff within Provide. Thank you. I am humbled.